The third question is another somewhat broad question on strategy. The Democratic Party is at a crossroads at the moment. There are divides within the national party, the Bernie versus Hillary debate that rages on again and again, but also concerns about economic policy versus identity politics, about message, about moderation versus progressivism. What is your advice for the National Democratic Party on how to bridge this divide, and how will your campaign specifically bridge it in this district?
I love that I get to go first on solving the problem that is the Democratic Party. So I think I can do this in 2 minutes. No problem. 2 minutes, solve the Democratic conundrum. Done. Here we go. Are you ready? Buckle up. All right. Ultimately, look, there are facets of different parties. I definitely consider myself a progressive. I voted for Hillary in the primary in 2016, obviously voted for her again in the general election in November. As I mentioned earlier, obviously endorsed by Tom Perriello, former congressman, who's definitely a progressive along the way, but also at the same time endorsed by the former county Democratic chairman who just left office about a week ago in Prince William County, who certainly is part of the establishment. So it depends on which way you want to go with it and which way you want to look at it. Ultimately, what I'm going to do to bring my part to the Democratic Party is I think we need to stand strong on our values. If Republicans are willing to stand up and shout lies, we should be willing to stand up and shout the truth. We ultimately have to start coming out of our shell a little bit as a party, and we have to start fighting for what we can fight for. Ultimately, I can't solve email issues or Bernie versus Hillary issues that happened in 2016. But what I can do in the Virginia Democratic Party, in the Prince William Democratic Party, in the 1st Congressional District Democratic Party, is say that we need to be proud of who we are. Because Republicans, no matter what, stand on their values. Republicans look for a reason to vote for somebody. Democrats tend to look for a reason to vote against somebody. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to solve the Democratic Party. Or if I was a Republican, I probably couldn't solve that as well, other than closing it down completely. I would solve it that way. But we need to make sure that we stand on our values and know that we're not hiding from what we do. We can't back down when times get tough, right? We need to learn from the Republicans. If they can win races with really bad ideas, we should be able to win races with really good ideas. And we're only going to do that by standing strong on what we believe in and not hiding from those. So thank you very much.
So along those same lines, I can say I voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary, and I enthusiastically voted for Hillary Clinton in the general. I believe in strong progressive values. I want those very much, but I'm also a realist at the same time, and I realized that wasting that vote on somebody else in the general was not going to get me a single step closer to solving any of the issues that I wanted in government. And I take that same approach. I'm going to fight for strong progressive values. I'm going to fight every day to bring more people into the tent, and I think that Democrats should continue to do that. We should continue to reach out to as many folks as possible, but at the same time, you don't compromise your values. We don't change who we are to try and bring in additional voters. And I think more than just Bernie Sanders' economic message, I think people thought he was very authentic. Whether you cared for his policies or not, he seemed like he really cared about them and he wanted to fight for them. And I think that's the same approach that I'm going to take too. I'm very passionate about the ideas that I have, and I have developed plans for how to accomplish them. So I bring a realistic approach to progressive values, and I think that that's the same thing we have to do nationally too. And I will say again, I think that Democrats have to realize, hey, if you can get 90% of the things you want out of one candidate, don't throw away the good for the perfect. And I think that's the approach we have to take. Thank you.
Another interesting question. Either we are a big tent party or we're not. The Democratic Party has always been, well, not always, became a party that included everyone. And we have to continue that. We can't start saying wrong, wrong, wrong. We have to say right, right, right. You know, I was in Fauquier County a little while ago, and I had a woman stand up and bash our now governor. And it was the most interesting thing because this was a Democratic Party meeting, and she was literally saying that our primary elected candidate, she was against him because of what he believed in. And I'm standing there in disbelief because that was saying that we didn't support our own candidate. We have to be a party that is inclusive, and we've always been a party that's inclusive. Does that not make sense? See, that didn't make sense, did it? And that's what we do. See, the 2016 election was a perfect example of how we include and not include at the same time. Because Bernie Sanders did not win, so many people became, I'm a Hillary not liker. I'm not going to say a hater, a not liker. The same people flipped and said, I'm not going to vote for Trump. Oh, but who am I going to write in? We lost this because we became uninclusive. We have to be strong as a party, and the Democratic Party will only be repaired when we, as the Democratic Party members, start treating our party like we are not the minority, but the majority, and take Congress back. Thank you.
We have to understand that in this country, with our two-party system, we have a binary choice. And we also need to understand the difference between imperfect and flawed. A lot of people have voted for a third party because Hillary was imperfect. The Republicans had a flawed candidate that they all voted for. So we were imperfect, and they were perfect at being flawed. Now, John Scotterman and I and Teresa were at the Kragers over here having a meeting planning for the Blue Moon Bash last year, and we ran into one of our esteemed fellow committee members who was livid that Bernie had lost the primary, and he said that he was not going to ever vote for Hillary Clinton. And I didn't know that John Scotterman had voted for Bernie, and I didn't know that Teresa had voted for Bernie, and they didn't know that I had voted for Bernie in the primary. But we all said, no, we have to vote for Hillary. We can't sacrifice the country just because we had a spat about the way a process went. So the Democrats need to understand that we have to make the best choice every time. I don't criticize the senators for trading 2.5 weeks for the Dreamers to get 6 years of health care for the children. For 9 million children now have health care for the next 6 years, and all we gave up for that is 2.5 weeks. So, but who's shooting ourselves in the foot? It's the Democrats, it's the liberals that are attacking Chuck Schumer, not the Republicans. We need to learn how to vote for the best outcome that we have, because we're not ever going to get a perfect choice. So we just need to be smart.
Thank you.